I'm Talia Ricci. Tonight, downtown Toronto has finally come out of the dark after being hit with a massive power outage.
Unfortunately, we find it closed and they say that it is because of the power. There is no power there.
Workers were sent home and businesses shut down after a barge accident cut power to the city's core. Plus,
that power rail has about 600 volts of electricity running through it.
A 4-year-old girl is lucky to be alive tonight after she was found wandering along the TTC tracks near Warden Station. And
she messages me back immediately and was like, "Oh my God, I think you might be my sister."
2 sisters who were adopted as babies by 2 separate families have found each other. We joined them for their long-awaited reunion in Niagara Falls. The lights are back on in downtown Toronto after a Hydro One outage left thousands of people without power today. Meg Roberts has more on the chaos and what caused the outage.
The big television screens that normally light up Dundas Square were dark today. Lights at major intersections across the city out, and thousands of people without power.
We were in the Eaton Center in a power outage, so they closed all the shop and told us we can't shop anymore.
As well as the Eaton Center office buildings in the financial district, Toronto Metropolitan University and TTC streetcars all affected by the power outage. Toronto Fire responding to multiple calls of people getting stuck in elevators.
Oh my God.
The reason behind the outage captured on camera around 12:30 this afternoon. That's a barge carrying an upright crane that came into contact with a high voltage transmission line in the Portlands area. This video posted on social media appears to show the moment that barge hits the power lines. Earlier today, Hydro One saying it had all hands on deck to reroute the power as quickly as possible.
Now power is being rerouted back through to Toronto Hydro as we're able to find other alternative lines to move the power through.
The city says it's launched a full investigation after a barge with a crane, which you see behind me here, came into contact with the hydro line. The city says it's asked for a full report from the subcontractor involved with the incident. In a statement, the city says it wants to hear from the subcontractor for Southland Estaldi joint venture to understand what happened and what needs to be done to ensure this doesn't happen again. The power outage lasting more than 7 hours was inconvenient for some, but this barbershop on Richmond Road wasn't wasting a beautiful day.
A lot of my stuff is all like power or cordless, so basically took it outside and we just cut out there.
Electricity or not, it was business as usual.
After COVID, nothing was worse than that, so a power outage really isn't a big deal.
Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
A horrifying attack on a well-known Brampton realtor is under investigation by Peel Police tonight. The man was attacked with an axe and a machete. Police are still searching for the suspects. Ali Chiasson has the latest and a warning to viewers that this story does contain graphic video.
I had a chance yesterday to visit him. The family's doing better.
The mental and physical trauma from this attack on Jyoti Singh Man is life-altering.
So unfortunately, the big toe of Mr. Mann was amputated. He had lacerations all over his body, severe cuts and injuries to his hand.
He was ambushed a week ago outside of his home by 3 men armed with an axe and a machete. The attack went on for several minutes before his mother intervened, causing the suspects to flee.
She's feeling very brave for herself and for the son that 3 people came to attack, but he protected her.
Peel Regional Police believe this was a targeted incident. There is no ongoing threat to public safety.
Despite having this graphic video of the attack captured on home security, the suspects' faces were mostly concealed behind surgical masks, so investigators don't have much of a description to work with, but they do have leads.
We were aware that the victim a few days prior had received a death threat. That was under an active investigation, and that forms now a part of this investigation, and we're trying to determine whether or not that is related to the incident that occurred.
Jyoti Singh Man is a realtor in the city of Brampton, as well as a podcaster, where he sometimes speaks on ongoing issues in India, something people who are close to him say he's been threatened for in the past. Peel Police today even confirmed they're investigating cases where 2 other Punjabi media figures have been attacked this year.
At this time, we don't have any information to suggest that those two incidents are related to the incident that occurred last week with our most recent victim.
The video was horrifying.
But since it's being shared so widely, there's hope the suspects will be recognized. The mayor of Brampton says the investigation is in good hands.
The Peel Police tell me that they have very strong leads and they expect to be able to apprehend the individuals behind this in very short order. And so I hope the individuals responsible face the full extent of the law and the consequences that flow from that.
No matter what the motive, this is a completely egregious attack on a gentleman who lives in our community, and we are going to put all of our resources toward identifying those persons responsible.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
York police say 2 people were critically injured after they were shot while attending a funeral at a Muslim cemetery in Richmond Hill today.
One male victim was standing outside of a vehicle while the other one was sitting in his vehicle. When what we're aware of is about 3 to 4 male suspects approached them and opened gunfire. Again, as a result, the victims have received multiple gunshot wounds and they have been transported to hospital, trauma center in life-threatening conditioning.
It happened around 3:15 this afternoon near Leslie Street and Bethesda Side Road. Police say there were a couple of hundred people at the cemetery when it happened. Multiple suspects are believed to have fled in an older model SUV traveling northbound on Leslie Street. Police believe the shooting was targeted, and they're asking anyone with information to contact them. A 4-year-old child is lucky to be alive tonight. The girl was found wandering along the TTC tracks at around 1:30 a.m. Natalie Collada has the story.
It's the quick thinking of a subway operator that stopped tragedy in its tracks.
Their instincts and their reactions saved that child's life last night, and we're really thankful for that.
At 1:30 in the morning, the subway conductor spotted a 4-year-old girl walking along the board covering the power rail just west of Warden Station.
That power rail has about 600 volts of electricity running through it, so to touch it is basically deadly.
Stopping the train, the operator sent word to cut the power, got the child safely on board the train and back to the station, where police united her with her parents. The close call leaving some riders today shaken and puzzled.
How did she cross the pay barrier?
I don't even know how she'd get on there. Like, how would she? It's blocked off. I mean, that's a little insane.
Crews are trying to figure that out this afternoon, checking for any holes or gaps in the fencing.
There's barbed wire in that area. There's very high fencing. It's possible that maybe an animal burrowed under fencing at a point and the child was able to gain access that way. So we'll have to look for all of those things and certainly make sure that there's no chance for a repeat.
Just a few weeks ago, a 4-year-old girl in Mississauga was struck by a GO train and killed. Her family says she was chasing a butterfly when she walked through a path and onto the train tracks near Dixie Station.
None of us want to see anything like that happen ever again.
As TTC crews work today to make sure, it remains unclear why the girl was at the subway station at that time. Police say she has a history of wandering away from home. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
Matt Hamill from the Weather Network joins us now for a first look at the forecast. And I feel like we've been so lucky this week with warm, sunny days, and today was definitely one of them.
You bet, Talia. Yeah, a lot of nice weather on the way, and it's really been this pattern that's been bringing in much below seasonal temperatures, not quite as humid. It's been quite comfortable out there. Along with the nicer temperatures, the relief from the heat and humidity, lots of sunshine as well, like you mentioned, Talia, for today. And even looking ahead to tomorrow, 14 hours of sunshine, doesn't get much better than that. Saturday also looking quite sunny. A little bit of a mix of sun and cloud as we get into later in the weekend and next week. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But all the sunshine and pleasant temperatures over the next few days is serving us well. Tomorrow, 26 in Toronto, feeling like 26, so not much of a humidity factor whatsoever. Looking ahead to Saturday, we do see a 2-degree increase with that humidity factored in. Now, these great conditions really are boding well because there's so much going on around the city over the next few days. Tomorrow and Saturday, the Blue Jays are welcoming the Cleveland Guardians to the Rogers Centre. Great weather on tap. Even the Argos are in action. They're heading down the road to the hammer, and they will have a fabulous forecast. Now, coming up a bit later in the program, we're going to be looking ahead over the next few days to what we can expect heading into next week. So we'll cover that later in the show.
Thanks, Matt.
You bet.
The Minister of Health faced scrutiny at Queen's Park today over the possibility of privatization in the healthcare system. Earlier this week, Sylvia Jones said all options are on the table when it comes to addressing staff shortages in hospitals. Today, she faced pointed questions about what those changes could be. Lorenda Redekop reports.
Does the minister think patients should have to start paying for care they now receive as of right?
No, no, no.
But the NDP also asked this, and the response was less clear.
Is this government looking to the private and for-profit sector to take over healthcare services that are currently publicly delivered?
You use your OHIP card to access healthcare services in the province of Ontario, and that will continue.
Later, a reporter asked the health minister if surgeries might be paid for publicly but delivered in private clinics, something being suggested by the Ontario Medical Association. She got that same response.
It would be funded by your OHIP card.
The interim NDP leader says user fees aren't his party's only concern.
Private companies coming into this system are not operating like charities. They're there to make a buck, and they're going to cut wherever they can cut in order to maximize their profit. We've seen that in long-term care. We've seen that in home care.
Today, the Nurses Union raised concerns about one area of privatization it says is already increasing: part-time nurses hired through private agencies, saying it can cost employers 4 times the regular nursing hourly wage.
That is an abuse. It is an abuse of healthcare dollars, and it is abuse of the people of Ontario because we're the ones paying the bill. We are the taxpayers.
The cost of supplying nurses to Ontario hospitals is going up. This is what
the medical director of critical care at one Toronto hospital says the cost of hiring those nurses went from $65 an hour pre-pandemic to $110.
Which I think is exploitative and predatory. There's even one company that has surge pricing, the on-demand pricing we hear about for concert tickets or airline tickets, whereby if you're booking a shift just before it's time to start, the price goes up to $140 per hour.
All this as hospitals struggle with staff shortages. In many cases, it's not enough nurses. And today, the Ontario Nurses Association said almost a quarter of nurses are eligible to retire. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News.
It's been 4 years since the launch of a class action lawsuit against a company that ran student trips. And now a court has approved a settlement. Former trip leaders with S-Trip argued they were doing the work of employees but were classified as volunteers. The company has agreed to pay out $450,000 and it's pledging to change its policies going forward. Far Morale has more.
It's a really great feeling.
Deandra Montague's reaction to the end of a more than 4-year journey, the settlement of a class action lawsuit she spearheaded. In 2018, she spoke out about an S-Trip student trip she led in Cuba. She said she worked 14-hour days, supervising students for a week, but only received an honorarium of $150 because she says she was classified as a volunteer. She became the lead plaintiff of a class action against parent company I Love Travel. The settlement details now listed here. The company has agreed to a $450,000 payout to trip leaders. But that's not all. It's also committing to reclassify staff as employees for future trips.
I was very relieved, very happy, still am. It feels like knowing that something can be changed that is going to impact others.
She was a young worker. She was just starting her career off, just finishing school when this class action was launched in 2018. And to come forward in those circumstances and to achieve what she was able to achieve, we're just tremendously proud of what's happened here.
In the settlement, the judge described the case as novel and the result somewhat groundbreaking, adding this is the first volunteer misclassification class action in Canada and will have a significant impact on employment law.
I think it sends a message to workers and also to employers that there are recourse for these sorts of things.
A decision like this is a breath of fresh air.
Employment lawyer Sunira Chaudhary says it's not often you see cases involving young people and volunteers.
This might be the future of where employment law is going in some respects, because employment is beginning to look a lot different these days. Whether you are an intern, whether you're a gig worker, work is work. And the legal system is clearly catching up with how to provide remedies to workers who may not be in traditional employment relationships.
As for Montague, she hopes the settlement will encourage others to do what she did, speak out.
I inspired myself in a sense, and hope in ways I've inspired others.
Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
And there's a live look at the city tonight. Clear skies after a beautiful day, currently sitting around 19 degrees. And Matt's back now with our extended forecast, hoping this streak continues into the weekend.
It looks like it will, Talia. We have very nice conditions now. You mentioned today was lovely, sunny, a good temperature. Was a bit windy, although we're not really seeing that as we look ahead over the next few days heading into the weekend. The winds do come down, so we are sitting pretty, as they say, and we can look around a couple GTA communities. We do see that great forecast that's really the spreading the love around here. We have lots of great conditions, and again, not too hot and not too humid. That's really that main sticking point. And we talked about the Blue Jays, the Argos, even Toronto FC in action on Saturday night, and you guessed it, the forecast is splendid. Now, we do have maybe some precipitation working into the forecast. It has been quite dry over the past quite few weeks, and we do see maybe a 40% chance of some minimal amounts of precipitation. So that dry pattern does look like it's going to continue. As we keep moving along here, the 7-day forecast for Toronto is showing things are, yes, maybe a bit of showers early next week, but the weekend forecast, yes, we are looking pretty good there. Now, it's all thanks to this national pattern. We have seen in this kind of midpoint of August all the above seasonal temperatures in the west, and here in the GTA and parts of southern Ontario, it's been that below seasonal trend with those more comfortable conditions. Now, this might change as we look ahead towards the end of August. We see those above seasonal conditions and temperatures really spreading out to most of the provinces. So maybe after this break from the heat and humidity, possibly some warmer conditions ahead of us. Now, we will probably not see any of that midsummer heat. It does seem like the hottest part of the summer is behind us. Looking at the next 14 days, you can see we're kind of hovering around that seasonal to just below seasonal. But as we approach around 2 weeks from now, maybe we start to see that increase in temperatures with that national pattern. As we talked about, lots of sunshine to deal with. So enjoy the weekend out there. So much going on around the city with all the sporting events. So Talia, a lot going on. A couple outdoor concerts as well. I don't know, maybe you have tickets to the Ashanti concert, or no, Alicia Keys and Pitbull are both in town. But any way you slice it, the weather is looking great.
Thank you, Matt.
You bet.
And it was the perfect weather for tennis enthusiasts to watch Canadian star Bianca Andreescu battle it out at the National Bank Open tonight. Sadly for fans, Andreescu lost after a nearly 3-hour game against China's Qinwen Zhang. Tonight's match ends an 8-game winning streak for Andreescu. She was the last Canadian woman left in the National Bank Open. Zhang won the first set 7-5, Andreescu won the second 5-7, and then Zhang took the win in the last set with a score of 6-2. A group of Toronto cyclists held a rally in High Park tonight. They say it's in protest of recent police enforcement against cyclists. Police say they've only issued a handful of tickets to people on bikes.
We're upset about the string of recent police activity in High Park. Officers have descended on the park and not only handed out tickets, but hit a cyclist with their SUV, and an off-duty police officer dragged a woman off her bike, assaulting her in a bike lane.
Toronto police have not confirmed those incidents to CBC, but they did say they've had a heavier police presence in the park in response to a number of complaints against cyclists. Still, only 16 tickets have been issued to cyclists in the park from January to August of this year. In contrast, police say over 1,200 traffic tickets have been issued to motorists in and around High Park. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Two sisters who were adopted as babies by two separate families more than 30 years ago found each other in 2019. But like many things affected by the pandemic, their face-to-face relationship was put on hold. That is until yesterday when they got back together again in Niagara Falls. Dale Manukduk has their story.
Oh my goodness, I am such a klutz, I swear to God.
I think it runs in the family.
Don't
worry about it.
How cool is it to use that sentence? It runs in the family to your sister.
Yeah, it's so true, like the similarity,
right?
Even the mannerisms and...
It didn't take long for biological sisters Lorinda Collado and Ashley Brown to get close after decades apart.
You know, she's not only my sister, she's my best friend. We talk every single day, so...
We really do.
Both born in the Dominican Republic, 35-year-old Lorinda, who lives in Connecticut, was adopted when she was 5 months old. 2 years later, Ashley, now 33 and living in Niagara Falls, was adopted 6 weeks after birth. When she was 15, Lorinda's adoptive parents told her about the sister she had.
And my adoptive parents, since they already had me, they had the opportunity to be able to adopt Ashley if they wanted to. You know, they kind of had like first pick. But I was 2 at the time, I'm sure very much of a handful. So unfortunately, they couldn't do that.
Ever since then, she was searching, the same way Ashley had been her entire life.
Are their parents treating them nicely? Are they having a good life? You know, would we be great friends? You know, and I always wanted to know. I needed to know.
Through MyHeritage's free program, DNA Quest, the two were eventually matched in 2019.
And then her email was there, like contact. So I did, and then she messages me back immediately and was like, oh my God, I think you might be my sister.
But before they met, Lorinda had other matches on the site and was able to connect with relatives in the Dominican Republic, including the sisters' biological parents. Their mother passed away 6 months before they found each other. And unlike Lorinda, Ashley never got the chance to meet her.
So that was her favorite necklace that she wore all the time. So like you know, Mommy had given me her ring, and I always keep it close to my heart.
Thank you so much. That just means so much to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you so much.
I love you too. And she loved you too, so much.
The two are now fixtures in each other's lives and hope anyone searching for their loved ones don't lose hope. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Niagara.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. In case you missed it, we'll leave you with a live shot of tonight's supermoon, known as Sturgeon Moon. Scientists say it will be the last supermoon of 2022. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.